This is Dolany TV, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening and welcome back to another edition of Edmonton Oilers discussion. And today, just want to take a few minutes here to get a little bit of a stat update, I guess. Give my take on how excited I am to see some of the Oilers' most important D prospects really shaping up, and I'm going to focus just on the three key defensemen hanging out in the Swedish leagues until the NHL decides to get its season underway, whenever that may be, with the whole world the way it is out our front doors. You listen to the news, it's a sketchy time out there right now in Alberta, and looks like it across Canada. So, my friends, let's get to it. You know what? Let's talk Evan Bouchard. Yeah, William Lagesson, yeah, we can talk about him. He's not signed, but we will. And, of course, Philip Broberg. But, guys, if you're new to the channel right now, I want you to hit that subscribe button. I normally post a little bit longer than this. Heck, this might turn into something a little bit longer. But what you need to know about these three guys today, let me tell you, is worth your time, as they are all playing games in Sweden. That's what I've mentioned right off the top here. Bouchard and Lagesson are in the Allsvenskan. I hope I finally have that right. I think one day I'll get it right. I'm not sure. But it looks like I'm going to get it right eventually. And then, of course, you have Philip Broberg, who is playing in the SHL, the Swedish Hockey League, with Skellefteå. So let's get to it, shall we? Philip Broberg. Let's bring up his stats and see what we can find on his game over there in Sweden. He's played 9 games with Skellefteå AIK this season. And yeah, we heard all about his debut game, but we've heard mostly, I guess, Philip Broberg, the big numbers are the fact that his minutes are way up, he's on the power play, and he's producing points at an incredible clip compared to what he did last season in 45 games. So this year, in a total of 9 games, he has a goal and 4 assists for 5 points in the 9 games, and then +2 rating. Gee, if I could read Hockey DB, I haven't used Hockey DB in a long while, so bear with me. But the fun part here is he had 8 points in 45 games last season. So divide 5 by 9, times it by 45. The guy is on pace for 25 points, which would be a 17-point improvement in his offensive production in the SHL. The other side, too, is the kid is growing. He is 6'3". He's over 200 pounds. He's a monster out there, and he can skate like Connor McDavid on the back end. That's what it seems like in all the highlight videos you see. So Philip Broberg looking very, very promising out there in Sweden, in the top league in Sweden. And then you move down to Evan Bouchard, who is doing exactly what Evan Bouchard needs to do. I know everybody's getting antsy about this guy. He's 21 years old. Guys, if we're getting antsy about a 21-year-old hockey player, look out. You're asking for kind of the situation we find ourselves in with Darnell Nurse right now, right? Darnell Nurse, a guy who started his career maybe a year or two too soon at the NHL level, was forced into the role and really didn't have the finer points of defense figured out, and now is figuring them out on the job. And hey, you and I, you and your friend, whoever, me and your friend, we seem to point out the holes in his defensive game every other night, and that's the last thing we want to do with a top 10 pick in an NHL entry draft. And well, Evan Bouchard, let's get it right and not do that with him. All right, so he's playing with Soderberg, I believe it's how Soderberg, I don't know how to pronounce it perfectly. SK in the Swedish Allsvenskan, which is the tier down from the SHL. And he's got 5 points in 9 games played. There you go. Same production as Philip Broberg in a lesser league. But I think what's gone on with the Allsvenskan is a lot of NHL prospects are in there. As far as I understand, a lot of them have gone over to the Allsvenskan, right? We're talking Lagesson and, of course, Bouchard are there in the Allsvenskan for us. Who else is there in terms of Soderberg? You've got any names I mentioned here. I should be able to see some names here somewhere along the way. You've got, come on, I know somebody was over there. I don't know. I think I may be missing it. Guys, I'm not gonna hold too much onto that, but you look at the young talent on the team. There's 20-year-olds, 20-year-olds, 20-year-olds. There are about 5 or 6 20-year-olds and a couple of 21 and 22-year-olds on the team. And then you have the goaltenders as well, who are really relatively young. So I bet you I could name prospects, but I'm not going to try. Axel Anderson looks like one I realize, so let's not worry too much about him. As that's Evan Bouchard doing the exact same thing as Philip Broberg in terms of production. The big key with Bouchard is we want to see him just really release that cannon, score a bunch of goals, and get the job done. So we want to look forward to that over there. And William Lagesson for him, just get an idea of what he's up to with the other team. Of course, we've got Raphael Lavoie in Sweden too, but I'm focusing on just the defensive prospects in Sweden right now. So he's with Vida Haston, HC in the Allsvenskan is William Lagesson, 6 points in 6 games played, 3 goals, 3 assists. Thing is with Lagesson, we should expect a bigger game out of him. We should expect more points. We should expect more production, all said, because he is 24 years old, so his game's a lot more rounded. He's played a lot more years at a professional level, so it will be interesting to see what we get out of a guy like William Lagesson in terms of the Swedish Hockey League action with the Allsvenskan this season, and then to see all 3 of these guys pushing into camp in the upcoming year. And that's what I want to kind of bring this whole conversation around to. That's why I didn't talk about Raphael Lavoie or anybody else like Samorukov or anyone in there, is I just want to focus in on these 3 guys, because these are the key 3 when it comes to the questions that surround the Edmonton Oilers roster on the defensive side for next season. Obviously, yes, with Oscar Klefbom potentially being on the LTIR for all season, well, that opens up a spot on the left-hand side, and a guy like Philip Broberg would be a hot commodity to have fill that hole, let me tell you, based on what he's been doing and producing for us in, well, training camp for the NHL playoffs, the exhibition game, and now with Skellefteå. So that's what we're looking there. We're just looking there. That's pretty good. But then if you're talking about guys potentially making the roster in the lower ranks, right? Matt Benning's gone, so does that open up a spot for a guy like Evan Bouchard? Well, not really, because you got Barry, and you've got Larson, so more than likely not. But again, if a guy pushes so hard in camp, you can't say no. You can't say no, so that's the interesting part there. And the hard part is finding your 7th defenseman, but you don't need to look any further, especially if he has a decent camp, than William Lagesson. That guy is your 7th defenseman. That's who you roll out there on opening night, either in the press box or filling in for an injury on the left side. I know Dave Tippett likes his left and right combos, but these 3 guys, when it comes down to who you have to pay attention to in the European leagues, especially in Sweden for the Oilers, when it comes to the NHL roster this upcoming season, it is these 3, Evan Bouchard, Philip Broberg, and William Lagesson. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Tyson. This is Stolany TV. Thank you so much for tuning in. I told you I wouldn't go a full 10 minutes, so I won't waste any minutes more of your time. I am up on over here. Supper's on the stove. I am gone.